This is my mantra. Everything is connected to everything else, okay? And I'm going to explain a very brief story. I'll try to make it brief, but it's a really good story, and I think this is the perfect way to demonstrate how everything's connected to everything else. I had this patient come in one time on my schedule. He was seeing another therapist for about 3 weeks, like 9 sessions. Back then, 20 plus years ago, everybody came into therapy 3 times a week for 4 weeks. It was just like, it was like law or something. Didn't matter what was wrong with them, 3 times a week for 4 weeks. Things have improved now, but it's kind of gone too far the other way. Anyhow, so this gentleman had had about 9 treatments of PT with this therapist who was on vacation, and he got on my schedule. And he comes in, and I'm looking through the notes, and I can see that according to the notes, he really hadn't made any progress or resolved his pain based on his subjective report. And so he comes in, and I ask him, and he said no, he hadn't really gotten any better. And I said, well, are you open to trying other things? Because obviously this treatment isn't helping you with your specific issues. Are you open to trying something different? And he said, absolutely, he wanted to get better. So I explained how the spine is one unit, right? It's not broken up with a little wall between, and how the lower spine can often affect the upper spine. And so he agreed to let me look, and I did. I found a couple of minor things, and I made some very gentle manual adjustments, but I didn't see anything really that would be causing his problem. So I started asking him questions, and I said, so when do you experience this neck pain and these headaches that you've been getting? And he said in the morning when he took his morning walk. He loved to walk. That was his favorite exercise. He did not want to give it up. But by the end of his walk, his neck hurt and he had a headache. And so because I learned right from the very beginning of my training as a PT from my dear friend and brilliant mentor, Mary Chu, everything's connected to everything else. I knew what questions to ask. And so I asked him, have you ever sprained your ankles? And he said, oh, he'd sprained them so many times in college, he couldn't even tell me how many times. When I assessed his ankles, he had no dorsiflexion. I think he was even in the minus. I mean, he was kind of stuck in plantar flexion in one of the ankles, and no dorsiflexion at all in the other. And what that is that's your ability to lift your toes up with your heel on the floor. Okay, that's dorsiflexion. He didn't really have any. So what that means is when he went to take a walk, because he didn't have dorsiflexion, he was kind of walking flat-footed, which would create this abnormal strain up the calf muscle, the hamstring, up into the low back, all the way up the spine. And wherever there is more motion being required that shouldn't have to be required, the body can complain. So because his ankles didn't have the motion, his neck was getting abnormally kind of tugged or yanked on whenever he took steps. And over time, it created pain and headaches. So I mowed his ankles, showed him how to do a very special stretch to really gain good mobility in the calf muscle, and I didn't hear from him for 3 weeks. I called the guy multiple times, leave messages. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, he's gonna like report me for malpractice or something, because I worked on his ankles and I never touched his neck, but I did explain the difference, and he was okay with me fixing his ankles. And he finally calls me back. He'd been called away for emergency work situation, and so he'd been out of town for 3 weeks. But he did call me back when he got home, apologizing for not returning my call. And he said that he didn't need to come back because his neck pain and headaches were gone ever since I mowed his ankles, and he's been stretching them. He was a very happy camper. So think about it. Everything's connected to everything else.